Hi, I'm going to cut to the chase on freeze plugs. If you've ever had to put one of these in when it's behind the motor mount, you know what I'm talking about. They are a true PETA. So, let's get started. If you want, and you plan to do a lot of these, you could just make a plate that has no open space in it that matches those bolt hole patterns. And then probably with a long enough bolts you could get an 1.1/8" socket in there, or a good block of hard wood, round off some hard wood and put it in there. I'm not going to put that in that video. Camera angle is going to be kind of tricky. What's going on here? All right, excuse my camera angle monster here, but if you can see this plate, I'm doing this on a cell phone. This plate is wedged in between the motor mount, and only 2 of the original bolts would actually go back in, so I had to use this longer carriage bolt with a nut on it. I'm gonna show you how that's broke down here, but anyway, the idea is going to be you tighten this up and it'll press that in. You want to get it in part way, then put your hockey puck on there and tighten it up. You want to tighten these up evenly. And you've got a third person that can tighten this one back here evenly is the trick, so that you don't get your freeze plug in a bind. This may require you to come in and out, which is what I'm going to have to do. In and out till I get it up there smoothly. But if you look way up in there, you can see maybe you can see that it's pushing the freeze plug in. When you get it flush, stop. Okay, I'm going to stop at this point because I've got the bolts pretty well tight. Hope you can see that. The idea is that you're pressing that freeze plug back in there, but you don't want to over tighten this. If you see something starting to bend, you've probably gone in as deep as you need to go. 35 foot-pounds is about, maybe 40. It's about right for a 3/8 diameter bolt as far as torque goes. So I'm going to take it out and check and make sure it's gone flush. If not, I'll have to put it back on and tighten some more. But I don't want to over tighten. but I don't want it to leak either. To test whether I've actually got my plug seated, I like to put in fresh water before I even take the clamp off, or the press rather. And here's the moment of truth. If you hear a glugging, you'll know it ain't a plug-in. I always like to let them burp just a little bit, but so far so good. I don't see any water dripping. Okay, don't forget to put regular antifreeze, whatever your climate requires, and then put your motor mounts back on and all the other pieces and parts, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching. Hope it helps. For want of a better way to explain this, because I know my earlier pictures were not very clear, this is the bracket that is the support for the transmission, and this is the long bolts. This would have been upside down like this. Well, actually like that on the engine block, but when you're underneath it, you're going to see like this. Okay, so I made this on the lathe instead of using the 1.1/8" socket, which was a little tall. And I know everybody doesn't have a lathe, but a good solid block of wood, if you'll trim it down. I tried to make this so it would match edge to edge, and it's gotten pretty battered up, so it won't last long, but I did it out of aluminum so it wouldn't do damage. Okay, and then this is just a piece of metal plate, any metal plate, and I'd say that's about, I don't know, an 1/8, 3/16, something like that. Needs to have some solidity to it so that when you press this in, if you're going to use this, there's an open spot here, see? Awkward. There's an open spot, but this is a part that should be on your truck, this piece right here, and the bolts. On this bolt with a carriage bolt, I had to get a longer one because it wouldn't fit down over all of this. Once those are all assembled in there, you can just tighten these down uniformly. Don't get one too tight. Just go evenly with all of them, and it'll push your freeze plug back in. I like to check before I take the whole thing out and make sure that it's pushed the freeze plug back up in there. A lot of times it'll catch right there on that edge and it'll be sticking up and it can still leak there. So you want to make sure this goes flush to the block as much as possible.